Hello and welcome back to my craft room. It's been so lovely to be back in here again after spending several days tidying up and sorting through everything last week. I'm really enjoying having a catch up. So one thing I've done is I've finally finished my Scrappy string quilt. And in a minute I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next to finish it off and what I'm thinking about, what I'm going to do with it, and just give a few ideas for what you might do with yours, or whether you're doing a full-size piece or just a little small piece. Or it's been lovely to see lots of people putting their own spin on this, doing it their way, and yeah, that's how I found that. It just makes me really happy. So I'm going to do that in a minute, but just first I wanted to show you. You might remember, if you've been watching me for a while, because this is quite a long time ago, that I made some boho bunting, I called it. I made it using the Bazaar scrap packs. I love Bazaar. They're a company that I've been buying from for quite a long time. They sell these, they call them scrap packs. I think they should call them treasure bags of reclaimed fabrics and bits and pieces and doodads, which come from India. And I think they're currently £14.50 for a pack. I'll try and remember to put a link to one of my sort of unbaggings of Bazaar packs. I'll put a link to Bazaar as well. If you did want to order from them, if you put Arty Farty Annie Treat, I'll put it here. Arty Farty Annie Treat in the note to seller at the end when you're checking out. They'll put a little extra something or other in your order. It could be anything. All sorts of little gifts, so little special, just a little treat, just a little extra little treat, which is always nice to get, isn't it? But anyway, beside the point, when I first started getting them, I loved the fabric so much, and I really wanted to find a way to enjoy using them and to sort of and looking at them every day. So I made this boho style bunting, and it's been hanging up in my conservatory for it's maybe a couple of years now, but I've taken it down because it's starting to fade. And I just don't want it to get spoiled, so I've taken it down and make a lovely little bag to store it in, and just keep it safe, because I don't want it to all get faded, So what I thought I'd do is, before I do that and put it away, I thought I'd just have a look, because for people who've only more recently started following me, might not have seen this, and I really enjoyed doing the boho bunting. It's got, it was a good chance to try lots of different techniques, different ways of playing with the fabrics and stuff, and I tried out a different idea every week. I think I made 12. That's it. I will link to the boho bunting playlist. I think it was a series of 12, because I did 12 pieces. A different technique on each one. So if you're just getting into slow stitching, or even if you've been doing it for a while, you might find some ideas in there. You might feel inspired to have a go at something similar yourself. So I'm just going to quickly flick through it, and then I'll do this. I've been chatting way too long already. Let's go to the desk. Okay, here's this piece of cloth that I tie-dyed last year. Let's put it on there. So obviously this is the back. So it came out about 2.5 meters long, maybe, something like that. And I tied in between on it. I tied pieces of the sari silk that I also got from Bazaar. I just love the idea of it all being reclaimed fabrics that otherwise would have just gone into landfill or whatever. I've done a little plaited cord there to thread it all on. So here we go. Let's it's so faded. The colours were much more vibrant than this, so yeah, that's a bit of a shame. The bundles that you get from Bazaar are mostly silks and cottons, and I think I've probably used a good mixture of silks and cottons in this, actually. So let's go through each one. Now that isn't my blanket stitch up there. That was already on the edge of the piece of fabric that I used, because some of them come from they're cut from garments and things like that. The little fish buttons, mother of pearl buttons here, were probably one of the freebies I got with my Arty Farty Annie Treat code. That's the kind of thing you get, tiny little pots of sequins or balls of recycled silk yarn, or carved wooden blocks for fabric printing. Yeah, this has really lost its colour. It was a real kind of turquoisey colour, I think. I can't remember now. I mean, it's still nice. I still like it faded, but I just didn't want it to fade anymore and get lost altogether. So this was my first attempt at shisha work, where you use embroidery stitches to enclose these little mirrors. Really enjoyed doing that, and I must do some more of that very soon. I made little pom-poms with... I had a whole cheap bundle of embroidery threads. They were a sort of a cheap bundle that I bought online, and they weren't that great quality for stitching with, but they were lovely for doing this. Yeah, and other than that, it's just straight stitches on this one. Just, you know, a lot of straight stitches around there on one of the little scraps from the pack. Just to frame that tiny bit of shisha work. I think this might have been the first one that I did. So here, now this was lovely pinks and greens, and this actually didn't come from a Bazaar pack. It was a tiny piece cut from an old falling apart silk Chinese jacket that I've got with lots and lots of beautiful embroidery on it. And this is silk embroidery, you can feel it, and I believe it's hand embroidery, that part. Yeah, so I stitched that on and did a lot of straight stitching to frame it. I really enjoyed, it was the first time I tried it doing this project. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Yeah, I think you can. So there's the pattern printed on the fabric, and what I've done is stitch into the fabric. I've just picked up the patterns of the fabric and kind of, yeah, stitched onto it in the same sort of colours. So it's quite subtle, but I really like it. I really like the look of that. And then here I've just... these little mother of pearl little beads that came in the kit, I've just stitched those on and straight stitched around them. There wasn't any complicated stitching in this at all. I've backed them with pieces of old shirts. That was cotton from one of the scrap packs. This was an old shirt of mine, or John's probably. Okay, so here we go. I've done more of that stitching into the pattern that's printed on the fabric. So you can't, it looks like I've just embroidered on there. You can't really see where the pattern's printed underneath, especially now it's faded a bit. And I've pulled some French knots out there. So I like doing really messy French knots. I can do proper tidy French knots if I want to, but I like these big fluffy messy ones. Lots and lots and lots. I just love all that straight stitching. This spiral motif, you quite often get these in the scrap packs. I don't know what they come from, but I've got a few of them. With all this kind of cord couched down, that was all that spiral shaped piece came as it was, and then I just added some more straight stitching and chain stitch into it there. A little bead at the centre. I made myself some templates. I think I had 4 or 5 different bunting shapes rather than have them all the same. So it's just this rectangular, the fishtail one, this sort of horseshoe shaped one, triangles. Yeah. This one's a short triangle. This was a crocheted heart that I'd made myself years ago, and it had just been knocking around in a drawer, so I thought, oh, let's finally use that. And then I tried this stitch. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It was a really interesting stitch to do. I followed a tutorial by Sarah Humphrey Embroidery. Was it called Paleokastritza stitch or something? Something like that. Quite complicated to do, but once I got into the rhythm of it, I quite enjoyed it, and it makes a lovely texture, and I thought it echoed the kind of the feel of the embroidery. I think I used the crochet cotton to actually do that stitch. Yeah, and these stitches as well, so it sort of pulled the whole thing together. This braid came from a shop in Walthamstow, where my son was living at the time. Oh, and I should say, yeah, the pom-poms came in the Bazaar scrap packs as well. I think they were quite a bright leafy green, those. They've gone really dull now, but you can see why I've brought it in. I've decided I just don't want it to fade anymore. I think on this particular week was probably when I did the boho beads, just these like no-sew wired beads. Have I got any more of them on there? Yeah, I quite like making these kind of boho beads. They're really fun to do, and it's another idea I want to come up with some more ideas for no-sew things that you can do with fabrics. If you want to enjoy the fabrics but you don't like stitching, this is one of the things you can do, is make these lovely boho beads. So That's something I might do some more of soon. Getting this all in a tangle now, aren't I? Okay, now a horseshoe one now. Oh, this was doing that Italian, is it called trapunto quilting? Where you, you won't be able to see it there because I put a backing on it. But you kind of cut a slit in the back so that you can put padding in to fill out these shapes that you've stitched around. So there's a line of it there where I've put some sort of cord or something through to stuff out, to sort of pad out that line, and here in the middle I put a bit of stuffing inside. And then I did this fly stitch or feather stitch or Y stitch or whatever on earth it's called, this stitch. I love this stitch, I use this a lot. Some lazy daisies and French knots. And then I just did a little beaded, I just sewed beads onto the edge here to finish it off. I tried to do a different way of finishing the bunting each time. So that one's got the boho bead and tassels on it, that's got the beading. Well, this one's got a different kind of beading around the edge, just little beads stitched on. This one's got the pom-poms, and that one's got the handmade pom-poms made out of the scrap threads, really. Well, the threads that I'd found weren't very good for actually stitching with, which is a shame, but didn't want to waste them. I've ended up actually mending that with staples. Look, shoddy. I'll stitch them back on before I put this away. It'll be another nice thing to do with a bit of Kawandi quilting or something, just to make a little bag to store this in. I think that would be good. So this one, a triangular one now again, and this is one of the little doodads that comes in the scrap packs as well. I get quite a few of these, but I've threaded on an extra bead there, and I've just wrapped some crochet cotton around it as well, and done a bit more shisha work here. This one I've done it with a mirror again, and this one I've used a flat backed jewel. What else have I done here? Just some, I don't know what this stitch is called, where it's like you do like a long stitch and then a French knot at the end of it. Is it called a bullet stitch or something? Just done some whipped chain stitch there. Bit of couching. I was just trying all sorts of things. Just stitching some flowers into where the pattern was printed again. Yeah, quite like that one. And here I cut these shapes out of another piece of fabric from one of the packs, and appliqued it onto here, onto this backing fabric, and just did a little a kind of bias edging on this one to finish it off. I really like that one. I think that's cute. I think it's one of my favourites. Another fishtail one. More shisha with the flat back jewels. Really enjoying that straight stitching. I love using it. There we go. I love using straight stitching like that. I just think it's so satisfying. It feels nice as well. Really loving this. That again, that pattern was printed on the fabric, but because I like stitched over it, it just makes it a little bit more special, I think, really. And then this was the week that I did the scrappy tassels. So I all the little tiny snips that are a bit too small to be using, I just bundled them all together and made tassels out of them, topped them with beads. Really enjoyed making them, and I still love the look of those. Really love those. I want to make some more of them. I think they're really cute, if I do say so myself. Oh, well, this one was fun. It's a bit different. I used the pom-pom trim there that I happen to have already, doing more of the like running stitch and then whipping it. Quite enjoy doing it. I still do a lot of that now, but the main focus for this one was, can you see those tiny holes in there? Not for anyone who's got, not don't look if you've got that, what's that condition called where you hate holes? Is it trichophobia? So with this, I heated up my soldering iron and actually used it to burn tiny holes in the silk. It was so satisfying. It's really tactile. I must do some more of that again. Really loved it. It would be great if you were doing like fabric collage and you wanted interesting texture. It's just, yeah, it's lovely. And then so I think this is about making different ways of making holes. I've made little bridging stitches here. This took ages, I remember now. I made little bridging stitches and then blanket stitched around them. So you could, you can lift this off. Hang on, where's a so you can go right underneath there. That's an interesting technique to try. This one, I think I actually trying to remember how I did all these things now. See, I'm going to have to go and watch my own video. I think there were 3 different ways of making holes, I think. So there was the making the silks here, and so it was the burning the holes in the silk here. This was doing the kind of bridging stitch. And I think this one I actually cut out the holes in the fabric or something, and then I can't remember. I'm going to have to watch my own videos back and try some of these techniques again. It's such a nice, because they're such small pieces, you know, doing one a week was nothing really, and it was just a way to try lots of these different techniques. There's another scrappy tassel on that one, some more of the pom-poms and things from the kits. They're not kits, scrap packs. This motif, I haven't made that. Oh, it doesn't want to focus. There we go. That's that came all as a piece in one of the scrap packs again. But I don't think I've done anything different on there really. Lots of chain stitching and my messy French knots and a bit of couching. I think that was one of the earlier ones I did. 2 more to go. Oh, this is my this is a Suffolk puff, but I left it deliberately messy and frayed in the middle because I like frayed edges, and again lots of stitching to set it off. So that's just straight stitching and then whipped running stitch. And then I've done these ones coming out here with the long stitch and the French knot at the end, whatever those are called, and French knots here. And then I really enjoyed making this kind of beaded fringing to go on the bottom. Again, you get lots of these beads. These beads all came from the Bazaar scrap packs. And last but not least, now this was something that came in a Bazaar scrap pack and I absolutely hated it. It was like normally it's mostly silks and cottons, it's mostly natural fibres, but you do get some synthetics. And this was like a kind of, I don't know if you'll be able to see very well really, kind of polyester, one of those typical polyester kind of fake flower things. I didn't like the look of it, didn't know what I was going to do with it. So I thought this week I'm going to make myself use something that I don't really like. So I appliqued it on here and then stitched it to death. By the time I'd finished layering and layering with all this stitching, I really liked it and it turned out to be one of my favourites. So just goes to show, doesn't it? And you could equally well do that. You could just cut a shape out of, you know, print a bit of the print on a fabric and do a similar thing. And then I made a little kind of it's almost like a mini dream catcher. I don't know what you would call it. It was a bit like doing a Dorset, like the beginning of a Dorset button, I guess. And yeah, and it's got this little fidget thing. Some feathers. So that is my that is a quick look at my boho bunting for anybody that's more of a recent follower and hasn't seen that yet. I'll put the playlist to this. I'm going to watch it again myself, I think, while I'm sitting and stitching, and just because some of the ideas that I tried here that I thought, oh, I will definitely do this again, I've completely forgotten about until I'm just looking now. Yeah, really enjoy it. It's one of my favourite projects I've ever done. I've really enjoyed doing it. A great way to experiment. So let's go back to, oh, come here, can't reach it. Let's go back to this. Look at all the orts I've been saving now. A couple of people have said, I'm saving my orts because she told me to. Don't throw them away, keep them. We'll be using those soon. I've got so many projects. I've got so many projects I want to do. I'm so excited about them. I can't wait to show you them. I want to do them all at once. This is my finished quilt. I'm going to have to lift you up a bit, I think. There we go. So there's several different ways I can go with this, and I'm still quite in favour of doing something inspired by what I saw Linny doing. So I am Linny 1. I'll put her link here. I am Linny 1. I'll link her in the description box anyway. And she did this thing where she did like a stitch sampler, then she put a decorative piece of fabric on the back and and folded it all up and kind of put a cover on it, made it so that she could say it was like that, and then put a cover on it so that you would open the cover of the book, but then you'd fold the stitched piece out, if that makes sense. Look at the mess on the back. Real embroiderers, look away now. So I think I'm still going to go for that. I thought of different things I could do. I could turn it into a bag, a cushion cover. I could hang it on the wall. I could make it into a wrap. There's various things I could do. If you've done like a smaller piece, you could definitely turn it into just a cover for a small sketchbook. You could, an even smaller piece, you could turn into a needle book. I wanted to find something where it wouldn't get too much wear, so I thought a cushion is probably going to get a bit too much wear, and maybe a bag as well. So I think doing it this is what I'm going to do. But the first step is going to be backing it. Now I've got this piece, put that to one side for a minute. I've got this piece that I tie-dyed. I had a tie-dyeing session with Macy, my granddaughter Macy, back last summer, and I love how this piece came out. I love the colours, and I think they go really well with this. Not that you're going to see them too much side by side, but so I think I'm going to use that and back it, and then I will finally, once I've got that piece, I'll be able to finally work out exactly how I'm going to do what I've got in my mind. So I'm not going to use any wadding or anything. I don't think it needs it. It's got enough thickness already from, it's got this backing on. It's got several layers of fabric here. It's plenty. I don't need any wadding at all. The first thing I'm going to do is cut round my finished quilt and leave an even kind of perhaps ½ centimetre and a half, something like that. Then I'll clip it together with this piece and stitch all around, leave a little opening and turn it through, so that I end up with a nice neat piece with this on the back and this on the front. And then I'll probably stitch through, I'll just do a little straight stitch through all of these squares. It won't particularly show. I'll probably use a thread that coordinates with this nicely, because it will show on there, but I love straight stitching, so that's absolutely fine. I could, instead of, because I've kind of lost my squares now because I've finished adding all of these stitches. I will link to the playlist that goes with this as well. It's kind of lost the squares. You've seen the diamonds rather than the original squares. So I could rather than stitching through these lines, I could stitch through these lines instead. I'll see how I feel when I come to do it. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this now, so that I can show you properly what I mean. Okay, so I've trimmed my piece down, and now I want to put my backing piece on, and it's almost exactly the right size, but that's sheer coincidence. And I'm going to have to be careful to make sure that I stitch quite close to the, I don't want to lose too much of the squares. I want to go as close to the edge as I can. Really, almost exactly the right size. It's very fortuitous. And then I've got this extra piece here. Okay, so now I'm going to use my little kooky clips and clip this all the way around. What I will do is stitch all the way around, but I'll leave an opening to turn it all through. Once I've turned it all through, then I will start stitching along the lines to sort of anchor the whole thing together. And just to add some extra stitch into this as well, which I will really like. It won't show too much on this bit, I don't think, but doesn't matter if it does. But what I need to bear in mind is leave a little turning for the opening, but also if I was going to make this into a hanging, I'd want to have a couple of hanging loops. So I might use this piece that I've just cut off. I might turn that into a little hanging ribbon. So say I was going to do that, I'd probably want little loops about that wide, just enough to put through a stick or a piece of dowel or whatever I was going to hang it from. So say I cut little loops like that. Say I wanted to hang it up, this would be the top. I'd get my little loops and I'd put them in there before I stitch it all the way around. And I wouldn't make, this wouldn't be my, I'd probably make my opening here, say, or at the opposite end. So all of this would be enclosed in the stitching. I'd probably put I'd want at least 3 hanging loops. I'd probably make it 5, to be honest, but they'd be smaller than that. Also, if you were going to turn it into, depending on what size and shape piece you've got, but if you were going to turn it into, say, a wrap, you might want to think about enclosing the whatever you're going to use for your closure inside at this point. So say you were going to use a piece of this to wrap around, much in the same way as I've done. So here's a wrap that I made with a Kawandi piece, and I want this piece to wrap around to close with. Here I've stitched it on afterwards, but what would have made more sense is if I'd enclosed this within the 2 layers, if that makes sense. So again, if you wanted to make yours into a wrap or a journal cover or something at this point, you might want to think, okay, that's where I'm going to want my closure ribbon to be. So I'd put it there, make sure it's all on the inside, and then that would get enclosed in the stitching. And then when you turn it all through, that would then be on the outside. So that's where, and same if you were making a little needle wrap, you know, you could put your little ribbon or whatever you're going to use to close it and just put it in at this point. You might want to, if you wanted to make a wrap like the one I just showed you, you'd need to bear in mind that if I put it together, hang on. So say these are now stitched together all beautifully. That's on the outside. Whoops. This is on the inside. I've stitched it all together and turned it right way out, so all of these, there aren't any raw edges now, these are all enclosed. I've enclosed a little piece of ribbon in here, so this would kind of look more like cobbling this together to try and explain what I mean. Here we go, it would kind of look like that. And then you'd need to bear in mind that to do a journal wrap like the one I just showed you, if you wanted to make the pocket, you'd be doing something like this. So your closure would need to go sort of there. So it's worth just sort of mock it up first to see what you're going to do and mark where. So in this case, if I thought I wanted to do a wrap like this, say, so that was going to end up being wrapped around like that. Okay, I would put it all together like this first. I would think, right, okay, if it's going to be like that, I'm going to want my tie about there. So when I put the 2 together, I'd mark that, I'd mark it there. I think, right, this is the level where I want my tie to go. And same with like if you wanted to make a needle case or something like that. If you were going to make, say, depending on what size piece you've got, say you've ended up with a piece that sort of size. Who was it? I think it was Diane maybe, said she'd made hers about A4. Well, this is a bit bigger than A4, but say this is an A4 piece and you wanted to make, well, that's probably about, it's not far off A4. You could make a little bag out of that and just use a piece of pattern fabric that you like on the back instead. And in that case, I'd probably stitch it onto the pattern, stitch the pattern fabric together, and then I'd do a separate lining and put it in, because somehow you need to lose that. So I'd probably, say this was an A4 piece, I'd find a piece of pattern fabric that I like that goes with it, and I'd stitch the 2 together, right sides to right sides first, and then I'd turn them the right way out. I'd do the same thing with 2 coordinating pieces of fabric and turn them inside out to create the lining, and that's when you'd want to enclose whatever you were going to use as the handle of your bag. I could, if anybody's interested in seeing, that's a bit more complicated way, trying to explain how to put a bag together like that. If anybody's interested, let me know, and I'll turn a Kawandi piece into a bag, just to show you how it would go together. If you're interested in that, give me a shout. Then you could put a couple of decorative buttons there as well. Yeah, I think a bag would be a really nice thing to do with it. But for me, I'm gonna do this kind of a book style thing like Linny did, because I just really like the idea. So my next step is going to be to stitch these two pieces together, so they'll be stitched through together like that, and then I'll just need to decide whether I'm then going to stitch through with this, where the squares are or where the diamonds are. So on the back here you'll see squares of straight stitch, or diamonds of straight stitch, and then I'm going to make myself a cover. So I've got this beautiful piece that came in a Bazaar scrap pack. It's 2 thicknesses of silk stitched together with just lots and lots of straight stitches. I love the colours that they've used, I love the feel of it, I just love this piece, and I just thought, wouldn't it make a nice kind of inside cover? So the way this is going to go together, so that would be the inside of the cover, and then I've got some other pieces from Bazaar scrap packs I want to use for the outside. Hang on. Okay, I've got a few different contenders. These are all pieces that came from scrap packs. So I'm thinking, what do I want to use as a cover? I love this one. I'm kind of swinging towards this one. Or this one, which kind of maybe goes with the colours that I've got a bit more. I kind of feel like maybe this one is a better shape and size. It's just that I love this, but I could make something else with this. I know it's exactly the same shape and size, so I think it's because that one it's got 3 whole squares, whereas this one I could more easily bring myself to cut there, and this would make the nice. I tell you what, I could easily make this into. If anybody wants to know how, if you've got, like, say, like, I believe it's Diane has got an A4 piece now of this Scrappy string square quilt, and you want to make it into a bag, let me know, because I could just turn this piece into a bag easily in the same way, and then just that would show you how to do it if you're interested. But you may be quite happy working it out for yourself. And the trouble is, we've all ended up with different shapes and sizes of pieces depending on what we've got and how much time we've got and all of that, and so it's difficult to sort of give an exact process here, because it depends on what you're doing. So yes, I think I'm going to go with this piece. I just think somehow I'd have some kind of a closure there. That's my front cover, that's my inside front cover, so I've got that beautiful piece as well. It'll be stitched onto this down here, and then it will open up like that. Oh, and I've opened it out the wrong way. I should probably have it opening downwards, doesn't really matter. And then that'll open out. Yeah. So there's absolutely no purpose to it. I was quite surprised. I had somebody once ask me, hang on, I don't know what slow stitchers out there think. Somebody once, it was a nice comment. Whoever it was kind of said, it was on a video, and I think I was showing my slow stitched journal that I did stitching along with Anne Brooke years ago, and yeah, during lockdown that was. And she left this really nice comment saying how beautiful it was. It was really nice and everything, but what was it for? And I didn't really know how to answer, because, like, what is it for? I don't know. It's for the fun of doing it. It's just for the joy of doing it, isn't it? Or, you know, every so often you like to take it out and look at the lovely fabrics and look at all the stitching, you know. And with this, what I love is there's other people's slow stitching in there. Someone else has couched all of these fibres on here in between these other pieces that in turn have been reclaimed from older pieces. You know, someone has done this, and then I've done my own slow stitching and put it all together, and every so often I will really get joy out of just opening this up, having a look, stroking it and putting it away again. What's it for? I don't know is the answer. What do you think? How would you have answered that comment? It wasn't, and it wasn't, they weren't being horrible, they've been really nice. It's just that I thought, oh, it's not for anything. But you could equally well say, what's a jigsaw for? You know, what's the point of watching a TV programme or a football match? I don't know, what's flower arranging for? What's a nice garden for? I don't know. It just seemed like it. Yeah, that had me scratching my head. That one did. Anyway, so that is it from me. I'm hoping that's kind of making sense. If anybody would like if you've got any questions, because I haven't really explained it all that well, because as I say, everybody's process is going to be different. Please do keep sharing whatever you're doing with this idea, because it just really makes me happy to see other people taking the idea and doing their own thing with it. If you've got any questions at all, do ask. So, okay, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll leave links to the Boho bunting playlist and a Bazaar unbagging. What else did I say? And the playlist for this particular project as well. And one more thing I must say before I go. So it's Monday the 29th of May today. This Saturday coming, so it'll be the 3rd of June. It's going to be the monthly Saturday night in, and it's a special one because I'm celebrating passing 2,000 subscribers, which is really exciting. So I'm going to do 3 giveaways. One is going to be arty, one is stitchy, and one is crafty. So because I know I've got viewers that like all those different things, and some people like me that like all those things. So the stitchy one's going to be my secret project. I'm putting some kits together for a secret project, so I'm going to give away one of those. I need to get my skates on and get that organised. And for the arty one, I'm going to give away a scrawler box, and for the crafty one, I'm going to give away the finished miniature tin, the little tiny world in a tin that I've been doing that you might have seen. I'm going to get that finished by Saturday, and that will be ready to give away. And I'm happy to post any of those anywhere in the world as well. So I shall be opening the giveaway within the next couple of days. There'll be multiple ways to enter, so keep an eye on Facebook, Instagram, in our Discord community. There'll be multiple ways to enter, and you can do all of them. And also you can enter via the live chat during the live stream on Saturday. So I shall be here with Tom for an activity. I'm going to be using one of the amazing kits that Barbara Brady sent me. Thank you, BB. It was the Upgrade fabric painting kit, so I'm going to be having a go at that. How much of it I actually get on, how much of it I actually do, and how well I get on during the live stream remains to be seen, as you'll know if you watched previous ones. But you always have a lot of fun. The main point of it is just getting together with everybody and chatting. So bring along whatever you're doing. There's a live stream follow along channel in the Discord as well, so you can post little photos of what you're doing while we're streaming, which is always really fun to see. So that's enough of that. I've been recording this for way longer than I intended to. I've got a lot to do. Our collab's due in a couple of days as well, the Inspired by collab. So much going on this week, but I'm really excited. Busy but good busy, not like last week tidying up. Ugh. Okay, right, that's quite enough waffle for me. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you again really soon. What a lot of waffle.